Why do people buy wristwatches in the world we live in nowadays? Are they simply luxury items, something we buy because of the way they make you feel when you wear them? It's been more than 50 years since mechanical watches were actually needed or used for their timekeeping abilities. So we're in a very different universe. Now this watch is a perfect embodiment of that notion. This is the CIGA Design Gilded Planet. Some of you might already be familiar with this watch. And if you haven't seen any reviews of this one yet, I'm sure you've seen some of the predecessor and sibling, the Blue Planet. It's a very refreshing design, and there's a big focus on sustainability from the company, CIGA Design. And their watches certainly stand out. The design is pretty spectacular. We see in the box we have the watch, and we also have two different kinds of straps. And those two straps are actually really well done in terms of design, that they managed to create pretty different styles for the watch. One is silicone, kind of a diver style strap. And the other is in the same ceramic design as the watch case. And this ceramic design really reminds me of Rado watches of the 1990s, which I thought was uber cool back then. It's probably not a surprise that the ceramic is a true fingerprint magnet, but of course it can be easily wiped off again. And taking off these protector plastics, we can see the movement and of course the dial in more detail. It is a pretty amazing dial, I must say. For reading the time, we look at this North Star, the tip of it, pointing towards 2 o'clock about there. So the outer ring is thus the hour ring, and that one is fixed. The ring inside it is the minute ring. We can see now it's about 2:45. And there it's 3 o'clock. The reason I'm a little bit slow here, well, my wife might say I'm slow all the time, but the reason I'm especially slow here is that I try to see the alignment. And the discs aren't perfectly aligned, which I think you should expect at a price point of about $2,000 or 2,000 euros. Another thing is that the movement has a date function. So given that there's no date on the dial on the watch, that is a dead setting. That's always a little bit annoying, but also not a deal breaker, I would think. In terms of timekeeping, the watch I have actually keeps very good time. Obviously, this is not a watch you would buy for its accurate timekeeping anyway, given that it doesn't have a seconds hand. It's much more about design than it is about function. If we speed the video up 30 times, we can see how the inner disc and the minute ring rotate. So we can see now it's 9:21, 22, 23, and so on.
Wow, that watch is so beautiful. Papa?
Yeah.
Where did you buy that one?
I got it from the company that makes it. They wanted me to talk about it.
Oh, it looks like the world.
Yeah, it is the world.
Oh.
And there's your verdict. The watch is quite big, at least for those of us who are more into vintage, at 46 millimeter wide. It is 16 millimeters thick, so also pretty thick. Doesn't look that thick on the wrist, given that it's so wide. The two straps are both very fast and easy to put on or replace. They come with quick change spring bars. Spring bars, Miss Moneypenny. Personally, I think the ceramic one is maybe a little bit too much. It is well made and the design is really good. It's just a little bit, I don't know, a little bit too jewelry-ish for me, I suppose. Personally, I do prefer the other strap. We're going to see that on the wrist a little bit later. But let's not forget that this channel is as much about the movement as about the rest of the watch. And here is, from a watchmaker perspective, the biggest issue with this watch. It's pretty much impossible to take the movement out of the case. The reason being that the case back is snap-on or press-in rather than screw-down, as was the case with the Blue Planet. What that means is that if you try to pop off the crystal with compressed air or something like that, the case back will always come out first, so it doesn't work. And there's no ledge or anything you can get in a tool on. Of course, you don't want to scratch that ceramic case. So at least until further notice, if you have to have the watch serviced or if there's an issue, you will have to send it back to CIGA Design. So not so great for independent watchmakers. If we put the watch on the silicone strap, I think, at least for me, that's a better choice. It gives the watch a much sportier look. At the time of publishing this video, there is still an early bird discount on the watch. So you can buy it for a little bit less than 1,800 euros. That is some 600 euros more than the Blue Planet. And most of that price difference lies in the gold that is used on the dial. It is triple plated with 24 karat gold, which is expensive in itself. The question is, of course, is the watch worth it? And that is honestly a question I cannot answer for you. That's something you have to answer yourself. The price isn't crazy, I don't think, and it is a very unique and spectacular watch. So yeah, if you like it, absolutely. My main question would be how to have it serviced, given that it's very difficult to get the crystal off. But that's likely something CIGA Design will address. And if you do like the watch, then use the link in the description as soon as possible so you can get your early bird discount. Before wrapping up, just want to remind everyone that at vintagewatchservices.eu you can always find more than 100 beautiful vintage watches, and as a YouTube subscriber you can ask us for a 10% discount. We'll be back with another video shortly. Until then, ta-ta.